Now it's time for another Board Game Brawl preview with Nick Minahan, sponsored by BoardGameBliss.com.
Hey folks, today we're going to take a look at a game that is currently seeking funding on Kickstarter. That game is called DinoGenics and it's from designer Richard Keene. If you like what you see throughout the rest of this preview video, I'm going to encourage you to go to the official Kickstarter project page to find out even more than I could possibly tell you here. You can do that by following the link in the top corner of your screen, as well as down in the description section underneath this video. Now, DinoGenics is a competitive worker placement game. You and the other players have control of a theme park that, of course, has dinosaurs. It's right there in the name, DinoGenics. You are raising these dinosaurs, you're penning them in, you're raising them by combining DNA and making different types of dinosaurs, sometimes mutant dinosaurs, but you also have to, the main goal, of course, is to bring visitors to your park. They pay admission, they give you cash, you use cash to build new developments in your park and to get more dinosaurs, to get more cards, to manipulate events in your favor, all these different types of things, but of course they're dinosaurs. They might do a little bit of rampaging, and then you're going to have to deal with that as well. But as I said, this is a worker placement game, so how you're activating all these actions is by actually putting your workers out in different fields in traditional worker placement type stuff. Let me go ahead and give you a brief look at how the game is played. You don't have to listen to me ramble anymore. And this is a prototype version of the game, so do bear in mind that what you see here may change in the final version. For example, there's a lot of prototype artwork used in this copy, but of course it's going to look much better and higher quality in the final version. Just look at the Kickstarter page. But then we're going to come back, we'll discuss it further.
DinoGenics is a competitive worker placement game for 3 to 5 players. Each player runs a theme park they are trying to fill with dinosaurs in order to draw in visitors. The goal of the game is to have the most points at the end of 7 seasons or rounds of play. You'll get points by developing your park, successfully penning your dinosaurs, and having lots of money. Every player starts with a board representing their theme park, 4 fence tokens to arrange for their first dinosaur pen, a set of meeples based on the number of players, with 1 you'll get later, and some starting cash tokens based on the starting turn order. The main land board is where all the action will be happening. Shuffle the individual decks of cards and facility tiles and place them in their spots, and lay out 3 random DNA cards to the market, as well as 1 random card from the breaking news deck to the upcoming event slot next to it. The city center has the 8 budget hotel tiles all in one stack for purchases, and the other slots have 3 randomly drawn facility tiles from the shuffled stack. A scoring marker for each player is placed on the score track for later use, and yet another board is the visitor board, which keeps track of 3 things: the turn order of the players, the reputation score of each player, and the visitor track and its overlay, keeping track of how many visitors each player gets each season. Keep a separate stock of all the various components, including dinosaur tokens, fences, red visitor cubes, money, meat tokens, and scandal tokens. The game begins with a pre-season round, which functions like the normal rounds, except no one can acquire any visitors. Players should focus on getting a dinosaur in their pen to draw in visitors later. A normal season round has 2 main phases. The open season phase is where players will assign their workers and collect their resources. There's also some round-by-round maintenance. First, check the reputation track. Turn order is determined in order of who has the most reputation, highest to lowest. Then, move the overlay down the visitor track and give each player visitors. Every player gets the visitors in the box according to the turn order from left to right. In Season 1, the first player gets 1 visitor and no one else gets anything. In Season 2, players 1 and 2 each get 1 visitor, and so on. In addition, in each season there is a pool of bonus visitors. The first player always gets the first 2 bonus visitors, and then the remaining players take turns taking 1 visitor until they're all gone. Of course, you can't take visitors if you don't have places for them to stay in your park. Every visitor must go in an unoccupied hotel spot. You start with 1 visitor center on your park board that counts as a hotel, but you'll need to get more living spaces later. For every visitor that was taken, that player will also take 1 cash token, which represents the price of admission. Draw a new breaking news card to put into the upcoming event slot and move the previous one into the active event slot, resolving it if possible. Breaking news cards are global events that will affect all others, for better or worse, like damaging pens or increasing income. Draw a new facility tile to the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th tile of the city center. The last step of the open season phase is the main part of the game, assigning workers in turn order until everyone is out of workers. Everyone gets an additional worker at the start of Season 4. Every worker is assigned to an action space on the mainland and immediately gains the benefits of the space as well as paying the cost if necessary. Every site has a limited amount of slots for workers. At the city center, you may take 2 actions of the available 4 actions. You can purchase a face-up facility for the cost indicated on it and place it in your park. Facilities could be as simple as extra hotels, buildings that give you extra points for taking certain actions, or other special abilities like penning dinosaurs together that otherwise you couldn't. Some facilities are also worth victory points all on their own if you maintain them until the end. Also at the city center, you can purchase 3 fence tokens for 2 cash and place them into your park immediately, and rearrange them if you want. The city center also lets you use the DNA market. You can buy a DNA card for its current cost or sell a card back to the market for its sell cost, pushing the cards to the right and potentially pushing one to the discard pile or boneyard. More on these cards in a moment. Lastly, some facilities may become damaged and flipped over during the course of the game. At the city center, you can spend 3 cash to repair one of these buildings and flip it back over to its proper side. At the DinoGenics IOM site, you can turn DNA cards into dinosaurs. The large number of the card is how many cards of the same dinosaur must be traded in to take the corresponding dinosaur token and place it into a pen. You can also trade in 3 different Dino DNA cards to place a mutant instead. Each dinosaur gives you a certain amount of reputation so long as you have it, and generates a certain number of victory points every season. It also gives you a different special ability. However, every dinosaur has a habitat rating, which determines the size of the pen that it requires, and you can't keep different types of dinosaurs together, with some exceptions. There's also a food rating, which is how much meat it requires every season. If you can't meet these requirements, you may take harsh penalties, which we'll get back to later. At Site A, a placed worker will get you 2 cards from the DNA deck. At Site B, you get 3 cards from the DNA deck, but you can only keep 1 and discard the other 2. At the agency, you draw 2 manipulation cards and discard a scandal token. Speaking of that, the way to play a manipulation card is to go to the uplink space. Manipulation cards are beneficial cards you can play to adjust the game in your favor, getting you discounts, extra cards, or protecting your park. At the Boneyard, in exchange for taking a scandal token, you can take any card you want from the DNA discard pile. The Ferry, very simply, gives you 3 cash. And finally, the timeshare space gives you 1 money and 1 visitor if you have space for that visitor. Once all players have placed all workers, it's time for the upkeep phase. First, feed all your carnivorous dinosaurs and make sure your pens are good for each dinosaur in your park. If you can't feed a carnivore, if a dinosaur is improperly penned or kept in an open space or kept with improper dinosaurs, or an event forces you to do this, you'll roll a rampage die for each affected dinosaur. 2 faces of each die are rampage facility sides, which will make the dinosaur attack an adjacent facility as well as kill 1 visitor. Each dead visitor forces you to take a scandal token, which counts as -6 points at the end of the game. 3 faces of each die are rampage slashes, which are slightly better and just damage facilities. 1 face of each die is a naive visitor face, which gets you 1 cash for a visitor that believed the rampage was just part of the show. Continuing with the upkeep, every player returns their visitors and gains 3 points for each one. Calculate your dinosaur points, advance the season track overlay, and continue to the next round. Keep going until the end of the 7th season. Calculate all your building bonuses, subtract scandal tokens, and add scoring bonuses. 3 points for every legally penned dinosaur, and 1 victory point for every 3 leftover money. Add these to your current points, and whoever has the most points is the winner. That is DinoGenics.
Well, worker placement games are not a rarity, but it is a rarity to see one that actually has an interesting theme, which sounds harsh, but of course, so many worker placement games are just, let's build the castle, let's get our fields going, whatever the case might be. In this case, you have dinosaur theme parks, which is like a hell of a thing. And there's so many different types of dinosaurs in the game. All of them have their own special abilities, and it is a big pain in the butt to keep them happy and not rampaging through your theme park. And that's where sort of the tension and the excitement of the game comes in, because it's not enough to just say, okay, I go here, I turn in some cards, I get my dinosaur. You got to pen it in. you have to make sure that it's with compatible dinosaurs or not at all. Brontosaurus have to go in open spaces. Ankylosaurs can go with any dinosaurs. They don't require food, but they're not worth as many points. Tyrannosaurus are worth a lot of points, but you need a ton of space for them, and they need a lot of meat every round. You need to get meat every round. At the same time, you're not going to get very far in points in the game. Well, dinosaurs will get you points, but you need to be bringing people in. It's a theme park after all. So now you have to make sure you're having visitors come in, which isn't too bad, but you also have to make sure you have a place for them to stay. So now you need developments. You need to get other developments in order just to get more points too. There's so many different ways to get points in the game, and you can't neglect them, otherwise you're going to fall behind the other players. So this is not a game that relies on its theme. There is strategy here. There's lots of things to keep track of, like any good worker placement game would require you to do. And because you only have so few workers, and there's so many areas in the mainland that you could choose to manipulate, that's the main crux of the game. How are you going to use that limited set of workers in the best way possible? And there's like all types of little tricks that you can do. The mutants, which I didn't cover too much in the overview section, they can, if you feed them more, they'll actually spawn more and more mutants, but they're not that great. They're not going to increase your reputation, and they're not going to be worth as many points, but that might be a way to go. You can focus on just some really heavy-duty dinosaurs, but then you're going to need really big pens for them, and you only have so much space on your park. You can go for the development strategy, but again, that's not going to get you too far either. You have to diversify, and you have to keep track of your reputation, because turn order is incredibly important during the course of the game. You have the interesting aspect of the overlay and the season track, and how players are going to automatically get visitors, but that again plays into how absolutely crucial turn order is. But visitors are only good if you actually have a place to put them. So you have all these sort of spinning plates you have to worry about, on top of the random events of the breaking news, that this thing's globally globally happening to all the different players. The DNA cards, or there's like the set collection aspect to it too. There's just a lot going on here on top of the interesting theme. So it's not a game to be taken lightly just because it's about dinosaurs. Quite the opposite. If people are into worker placement games but are just tired of all the same boring old themes, this is going to be the game for you. But at the same time, I do want to stress that I don't think the game is so overly complicated that it can't be for casual gamers as well. So if you're into any of that I just said, the theme, the worker placement strategy game elements, and the fact that the whole package is just so unique, don't take my word for any of this. Go to the official Kickstarter project page. You can do so right now. The link in the top corner of the screen or down in the description section underneath this video will take you there. You can find out more information and hopefully consider backing the project. That is DinoGenics from designer Richard Keene. Thank you so much for watching and for supporting our sponsors. Take care.
Thanks for watching. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon. And make sure to check out our sponsor, Board Game Bliss, where you can find an amazing selection of games from around the world. BoardGameBliss.com. Thanks for your support.